Hello, 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 everyone. I'm really excited to get this going. If you can hear me and see me, can you just type through in the question box and let me know that you can hear? Just want to make sure everyone can hear me and see me before I start sharing with you guys what I wanted to share today. So just type through and let me know, and we'll make sure we're working. Hope everyone's having a beautiful Sunday. I'm really excited to share. Awesome. So it looks like you guys can hear me and see me, so that's exciting. I'm using a new webinar software, so I just wanted to make sure I had it all figured out. So thank you for doing that. And I really appreciate it. So I'm glad you guys are here. Like I said in my posts, I've really been wanting to, really been trying to figure out what I wanted to share, and also what I want my next thing to be that I'm going to be offering, because I'm really on this mission to help people feel the way I feel right now and really create the life that they want. And also to really get in touch with who they are and who they want to be, and just really be more intentional about who we are as people and the kind of lives we're leading and all of that. So I'm super excited you're here. I keep saying that because I really am. Yeah, so what are we going to talk about today? Well, the system that I wanted to share with you guys is really what I've used to transform who I am and transform my life, and really I continue to use it to improve both myself and my life every day. And I can honestly say that every day just gets better and better. There was a time in my life where I didn't know that it was even possible to feel this good. And yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are struggling to some degree with the same kinds of things that I was struggling with. And so I really just want to share with you, it's such a simple thing, but it really takes some work. So it's simple in concept, but yeah, there's a lot to it. And it's a continual process. We continue to grow and change, and what we want today isn't what we're going to want tomorrow. So I'm super excited. So before I get too far ahead of myself, so the plan is to share with you guys the process and a little bit of my story, so you know where I came from and how I've been able to change my life. At the end, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this new course I have coming up. If it's something that feels aligned with any of you, that's great. If not, no worries. I just really wanted to get it out there and share it because I'm really excited about it, and I'm going to be kicking it off on January 1st. And I love that idea. Anyway, I'll tell you more about that when we get to that part. I'm planning on the webinar being between 30 and 45 minutes. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time, but I do really want to share everything, all the powerful content that I can. So it may go over, hopefully not, but it may. So let me know if you guys are okay with that. If it goes a little longer, just go ahead and type through if you're good with that. And let me know you're good with that, but definitely no more than 45 minutes. I will do a Q&A at the end, but you guys can also type your questions in as we go. I may not see them right away if I get too, wrapped up in what I'm sharing with you guys, but I'll definitely be checking in on the chat. And yeah, that's the plan. So if you guys are good with all of that, just let me know and we'll get started with the good stuff. Yeah, so let me tell you a little bit about me. Some of you know me better than others. Both my parents are actually on here, so that's pretty awesome, and could be eye-opening too. But anyway, so my story, when I was a teenager, I really had this feeling like there was supposed to be more in life, and I felt like the idea of, when you're a teenager and you're coming onto adulthood, you're supposed to be like, there's all this pressure on you to figure out like what you're going to be in your life and what you're going to do and what your path is after high school. And I just had this horrible sinking feeling in my gut that there wasn't enough reason or purpose for me to go to college and get a job and raise a family and go to work every day and pay the bills. And like, that was just going to be the entirety of my life. And I knew in my heart, looking back, that there was more to life than that. But what I was seeing around me in the world really was like social proof that that really is life, right? Because especially, all those years ago, there weren't really people around me that were doing anything different. And while there was definitely happiness and joy in my childhood, I wasn't around people who just exuded that all the time. And it's not that we weren't happy. I mean, I have a great family. I had a great life. But it just felt like I could feel that there should be more, and that there was more struggle and sadness than there should be. So the moments of joy and happiness were really like the highlights, but not necessarily the norm. Does that make sense? So, so that being said, I mean, I have a lot of clarity on it now because of all the work I've done on myself. But as a teenager, I just was lost, and I was sick to my stomach, and I was not interested in like going down that path. And I was trying to run away from it. I was running away from that feeling. And I ended up actually getting into drugs pretty bad for the escape factor. Ended up dropping out of high school or getting kicked out for not going. Had 2 kids by the time, I had the first one at 19 and my second one at 21. And when my second daughter was born, when I got pregnant with her, I was like, I just knew I had to do something different, right? Because I had kids to raise. I'd always wanted to be a mother. That was one thing about my life I knew was always going to happen. And I loved my daughter, and I knew I'd love the one I was about to have. And I just knew I had to change. So I left everyone behind, went running back to my family to help me and support me and take care of me and help me figure out how to be a different person, because all of my friends were in that lifestyle and I just knew I couldn't be around them. And so I did a total like 180 in response to how irresponsible and crazy I had been. I got uber responsible and turned into a complete control freak, just so that I could make sure that my kids were taken care of and, they had a roof over their heads and I was around, which worked for a while. I got a really good job. I was able to take care of them. I got married. But what I had done was push down everything about myself that made life worth living. Like, I pushed down all the creativity, all the spontaneity, most of the fun, and I became a person I really didn't like. And when my kids were teenagers, I lost it. I just lost my shit. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be a person that I was. I was in a horrible state of depression. And there was a day I remember very clearly about 5 years ago where, I had been going through this, not wanting to get out of bed in the morning, praying at night that I just wouldn't wake up the next day. And this day I had my car keys in my hand, and I knew if I left, I wasn't coming back, that I was going to go drive off a cliff. Like, I just literally could not do it anymore. And it wasn't a thing where I was like, I wouldn't have told you at the time that I was suicidal, but I literally couldn't continue going. And so that was the only thing I knew to do. That was the only thing that kept coming up. So I knew in that moment that I had to either go ahead and die or really choose to live and figure out what that meant for me, because I couldn't live the way I was living. And I was taking that out on my family, and it was just really awful. So I made a choice that day that I would do whatever it took to figure out how to live. And it literally was the best day of my life. That's as horrible it is to look back on, and as, not fun, obviously, as it was to go through, it really was the best moment of my life, because when I made that choice, I committed to it. And I've spent every day since trying to be true to that commitment and figuring out how to be you know, the best version of me and create the life I want and create the person I want to be and get back in touch with those parts of myself that I had just pushed down and hidden and, you know, had basically had a stranglehold on. And I haven't looked back. And I literally am one of the happiest people I know. It's just a phenomenal change. And, you know, it's been 5 years of work and commitment and learning. You know, I'm constantly investing in myself and learning to be the next best version of me. It's a constant thing. And so what I'm going to share with you guys, I wanted to share that with you because I think it's important for you to know where I came from. And it's also important for you to know that this information I'm going to share with you, I use for everything. This is my process for everything, whether it's, you know, creating a better relationship between me and my husband, whether it's bringing in money, whether it's, you know, changing something about myself I don't like or I've been, you know, tortured by. I use it on everything, every single thing. So it's pretty powerful stuff, but it does take some work on your part, of course. So enough about me. Let's talk about why you're here. I've got a little slideshow for you. Because who doesn't like slideshows? All right. Let me pull up the slides real quick. Well, I told you I was using new software, so it does not appear to be working. Okay, let me try one more time, and if it doesn't work, then we'll just go on without it. Well, looks like it's going to take 2 minutes, so never mind that. I'll just walk you guys through it. How's that? Is everyone doing all right? Am I you guys not talking too fast, or you guys are hearing everything okay? Let me know if you want me to slow down or speed up or anything. You can type in the questions and yeah, just give me some feedback. That'd be awesome. So like I said, I've used the system over and over again in my life, and it's just really my process that I'm loving to share with you guys. And again, if you guys have any questions as we go ahead. Otherwise, I'll spend some time at the end answering questions for sure. Yeah. Oh, no worries, Carolyn. You didn't miss very much. All right. Okay. Thanks, Mama. Perfect. So, like I was telling you, it's how I changed my internal state. It's how I've changed my life. It's how I've created, you know, this crazy amount of joy. It's also how I've gotten back to where my husband and I are just newlyweds. We just have so much fun together, and it's really just been amazing. It's how I built my 6-figure consulting business, you know, and I've been able to do things that people with, you know, twice my experience and twice my schooling and twice my connections haven't been able to do in the market that I do it in. So it's been really good. And, you know, I went from that horribly depressed person who, you know, I had been diagnosed as having clinical depression. And I'm in no way a medical doctor, but I'll just share with you my story about that. Through the work that I've done over the last 5 years, I actually was able to get off the medications that they wanted me to be on. There was a short period where I tried some naturopathic remedy, which worked pretty well, but I don't do that anymore either. It's really I've just changed in ways that I didn't even think was possible. And you can ask, you know, I mean, depending on our level of relationship, if you ask the people closest to me, they'll tell you that I'm a completely different person. So that's super awesome. So the first step, and I talked about it a little bit, even though I didn't call it a step at the time, is you've got to make a choice, right? So, and it doesn't have to be, your situation doesn't have to be as drastic as mine. I'm kind of a slow learner, apparently. So I needed some sort of catastrophe to get me to make the choice that I wanted something different. so many of us go through life just kind of shuffling along, right? We don't necessarily have anything to complain about, but we also aren't living these great, joyous lives or really feeling fulfilled on the inside. Or, it just is kind of blah. And maybe we have great moments, but the in-between times, the real parts of life just aren't quite that exciting or fun, or you don't feel that great. So if you, I'm sure that you guys can resonate with that in some way. You can definitely feel for yourself if this is you. And it can also be as drastic as what I went through. Hopefully you're not feeling as bad as I was, because I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but I am grateful for my experience because it brought me here. And if that is you, I would encourage you to reach out. I'd happily, chat offline with you about that, because I don't want anybody to be in that dangerous of a situation, of course. So if you need some help through that, then absolutely reach out. But anyway, you definitely know if that feels like you and you want more in your life. You're fed up with your current life, maybe, or maybe you feel lost like I did as a teenager. Or maybe it's just that there's something you want in your life, whether it's more money or a relationship, or, you want to change your body, any of those things that maybe all the other areas of your life are great, but there's an aspect of it you would like to change. This works for all of that, for sure. But you have to make that choice that is what you want, that you're willing to do the work, and that you're willing to let yourself have what it is that you desire. And when I say make the choice, it's not, this step could easily be looked at like fluff or flippant or whatever, but you are the only one who can keep yourself accountable, and you are the only one that can make the changes that in your life that you want to change. So you have to make that choice and really mean it, because it's a commitment to yourself. You're making a promise to yourself that when stuff gets tough, or you don't want to think about it, or you're tired or whatever, that you're committed to doing that. And so we'll talk about that a little more, but that choice in the beginning is really what sets you up for making those changes in your life. Okay, does that make sense? Oh, good, Caroline, I'm not the only one. Well, I will be happy to tell you. Carolyn said she's a slow learner too. I'll be happy to tell you that I'm getting better at it as I go through the years, because one thing you'll find if you use this process is you start to become a lot more self-aware. So I'm getting better, I'm getting faster. Okay, so we chose, right? We've decided we want more, whatever that more is. It doesn't have to be specific. It could simply be that you want more out of life, or you want something different. For me, when I made that choice all those years ago, I really was just choosing to live. And when I said live, and when I say it now, I meant really live, not just go through the motions and stay alive, but live my life. And that was my commitment. That was my choice. And I had to learn what that was. So step 2 is really the fun part. Step 2 is where you get to create. You get to get clear on who you are and what you desire. You get to get clear on the desires you want in your life. You get to get clear on the desires what you desire in yourself, the person you want to be, relationships, whatever it is that you're working on. This is your opportunity to really understand what you want, and really understand your vision for yourself in your life, right? And if you don't look at what it is you desire, then you can't make any change, because you don't know where you're going, right? That'd be like jumping in the car to try to go meet up with your best friend, but having no idea where that was. So you're just sitting in the car. You can't make any progress if you don't know where you're headed. So it's critical. And this is something I continually do. I'm constantly using this process, and I'm especially constantly in step 2, creating and recreating the person I want to be, and the life I want to live, and all of that stuff, how I want to show up in the world, my business, everything. This is really the fun part. And part of this creation is sort of a 2-step process within this step. So you definitely get to, and there's a million tools on how you do this. I'm just going to give you guys the what, not necessarily the how. But you get to, so the first step is you get in and you create, you get clear on what your vision is. You start looking at the things in yourself that you want to change, and what does it look like? Who do you look like? Who do you want to be? And whether you journal that all out, or you're looking at people around you and thinking, yeah, I would like this, or I'd like that. However you build that, it's just important that you get clear on it, and that you continually get more and more clarity around that, and you continue to look at that throughout your life, because it's not like something you do and then set down and walk away. And then the second sort of mini step within this step is, which may not be the most fun part, but it's definitely the big potent, is for you to dig in and start letting go of all the baggage that you've been carrying through your life. So, and what I mean by baggage is you've got to recognize, you got to do the work, and you have to recognize your belief patterns and your, experiences and your negative self-talk and all of these things that are holding you back. Guilt, fear, and I could talk forever on guilt and fear, because that's a really big one for me that I've done a lot of work around, and I love to help people release that. But the point is that you have to look at that stuff, because a big part of the reason that we don't look forward and figure out what we want in life and what we want in ourselves and what we desire is because a lot of us don't feel like we deserve it. And it's for a myriad of reasons, but you have to start letting that stuff go, those old belief patterns, and all that stuff that you've had running through your head all these years. Because you do deserve it. Just by being human, you deserve to live a life of happiness, and we all do. But you can't get there if you're punishing yourself or you feel like you don't deserve it. And so a lot of the work is in this step 2 around letting those things go that are really holding you back. And there's I could give you a huge list of all of the things that have this effect on you, that you really, really just have to let go. So that's step 2. And like I said, the first part is really fun, and the second part, maybe not so much. And I'm numbering them, but they really don't go in order. Obviously, this isn't necessarily a chronological system. The steps are in order for a reason, but you'll go through them, you'll go back to 2 and forward to 3. And, you'll have to go remind yourself on why you chose this in the first place. So, all right. You guys good with that so far? I know it's a lot of stuff, but I really just want to make sure I get you guys as much as I can in the amount of time we have here. And obviously I love this process because I could talk about it forever. Okay, so step 3 is commit. You like my 3-step C system here? Yeah, pretty catchy. So that's a good question, Carolyn. Sorry, I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Carolyn asked, if you don't mind me asking, what were some of those beliefs? And how did you let go of them? Like I said, there's a really a lot of ways you can go about this. And this is something that I do daily. I check in with myself and look at what other limiting beliefs I still have going on with them. So for me, I'll just give you an example of one for me. One of my beliefs that really kept me from feeling like I deserved to create the life I desired was that I wasn't a good person. I had a lot of guilt around what I had done as a teenager and young adult. I had a lot of guilt around not taking care of, my oldest daughter well in the beginning because of where I was at mentally and because I was still in that scene. Tons of guilt that has been just burying me over my life. And I did a lot of things. I did a lot of things on my own, and I did a lot of things with some help from some mentors and coaches of mine to release that stuff. A big part of it for me, so I'll just give you one example. I'm very forgiving of my friends and family and people in general, and I have the exact opposite stance when it comes to forgiving myself. So one of the things I did was I actually sat down and wrote out the things I felt guilty for. And then I went And then I went back, and as I was looking at them, I looked at them as if someone else had done them, because in that way I was able to forgive myself. It was kind of this mental trick to turn that around and realize that if someone else had done that, I would have forgiven them by now. So that's just an example. And I was able to do that. And it wasn't instantaneous. It was more, the practice was more about teaching myself to give myself the same level of forgiveness I would give someone else. And so I actually use that practice a lot too, for different things when they come up. If I'm feeling guilty or feeling bad or whatever, and I need to forgive myself, I actually use that practice to do that. And so there's a ton of ways that you can, depending on what you're dealing with, because there's so many different beliefs that you may be dealing with. And there's so many different ways to release them that you have to really find what works for you in that situation. And so that's just an example of one that I was able to, a big one for me that I was able to, you know, figure out how I could let that go, and how I could keep it, you know, a process for me that I could keep using as stuff came up that I, you know, would normally hold on to and feel guilty about or feel terrible about. Does that help? Hopefully that helps a little bit as an example. Okay, so let's talk about step 3, which is commitment. That word gets thrown around a lot, and I just want to be clear here that this commitment is for you. It's not for anyone else, but you have to take it seriously. Okay, perfect. So you have to take it seriously. So Kathleen's asking, do you feel shame are the same? Guilt and shame are the same? I do, because I think that shame, you have shame because you feel guilty about what you did, or you feel like what you did wasn't good, or you feel like you should have done something differently, or you're less than something. So I do definitely think they're the same. And when you release the guilt, you may or may not release the shame at the same time. But if you can forgive yourself, you will generally release both of them, because shame is like not wanting someone else to know what we've done, right? Like you feel ashamed of it, so you don't want anyone else to realize what's there. And once you no longer have all of that feeling behind that about how terrible you were, how awful it is that you did that, or how disappointing you are, once you let those feelings go, the shame goes with it, because you don't necessarily, not that you would do that thing again, but you don't feel ashamed of the fact that it happened because it was a mistake. Does that help? I hope that helps. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so hopefully that helps, and I'll jump back into the commitment piece. All right, so like I was saying, the commitment to yourself is critical. You've got to take that as seriously as you would a commitment to someone else, or more seriously, because at the end of the day, you have to feel good. You have to be good with yourself. You have to be willing to show up, and you have to do your best to be the best person that you can be, or you don't really have much to offer the world, right? I mean, and I'm not saying you don't have anything to offer the world, but you definitely will have more to offer those people that you love, and the world in general, if you spend time and you really commit to yourself to do this work and become the best version of you. Then you have more and more to share. And so often people will, you know, they'll jump into this, but they won't commit fully, and they'll let it like slip by the wayside because, you know, they've got other commitments, or they feel guilty for spending time on themselves when, you know, their kids want them. But I just need you guys to know that every minute, every second you spend working on yourself and creating your best version of you means that you have, you know, 10, 100, 1,000 times as much to offer the world. And then when you do show up in the world, you're actually showing up and being present as the fullest version of yourself. And that is the greatest gift you can give to the people that you love. So set the commitment to yourself. If you're really going to do this, you've got to be committed to that choice. You got to remember your why, and you really have to, well, you don't have to, but if you want the results, you really have to keep that commitment to yourself and understand how important, because at the end of the day, the most important thing is that you feel good. Because if you don't feel good, no one else around you feels good. You're not, you've got nothing to share, and you're going through life for what? So, and I'm not saying that there's never a day where I don't have a down, day or down. I very rarely have a down day, but there are times where I will be down, for an hour or two or whatever, or, I won't feel that great. There's definitely that, but those are very rare for me. They're definitely fewer and farther between. And before I was living for moments of joy with all this other stuff in between. That was most of the time. And now I'm living in joy. And every once in a while, there will be, moments where I'm not feeling that great. So, and it can get hard. That's where you need this commitment to come in, is it can get really hard. People around us don't necessarily like it when we change. And they're not intentionally trying to sabotage you, but it's very common that, we waste a lot of time. Couple of things. So it's very common that when you start to change, people will have a reaction to that, and they'll either try to pull you closer and keep you distracted, or they'll start pushing you away, and you'll feel that, and that might freak you out a little bit. So just be aware that can happen. And it's not, like I said, it's not intentional. It's just, we humans don't necessarily like change. And so we react to that in the people around us. You also have to be really diligent about time, because if you think now about what your days look like, I'm willing to bet there's definitely time in your day where even if you feel busy or you feel like you're doing something you're supposed to, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably wasted time, because it's not something that aligns with what you want to do or be. And it's not something that's bringing you joy. Like, there's not really any value in it in terms of what it's adding to your life. It may just be something that you feel like you need to do. So I would encourage you guys to really look at the things that you're doing and figure out where there are things that you don't get anything out of that and you don't feel good about doing it, and start to prioritize your time, because we do a lot of things because we should, instead of things that actually feel good or add value to our lives and the lives of others. And, a lot of us, when I first started doing this work, I felt kind of selfish because I was spending all this time on myself. But it's the best thing I've done, not just for me, but for everyone around me, right? And so you need to be a little bit selfish if you're really going to do the work on yourself, and if you're really committed to being the best version of you. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then the other thing is, you always got to be willing to change. You've got to learn to be okay with change, because you're not going to be the same person. But the good news here is, if you're doing this work, the change is actually for the better. Your life will get better. You'll get better. Everything gets better. So it shouldn't be too scary change. However, it's possible, like I said, about people, that some people may self-select out of your life just because you're not the person that they're used to. So one thing that I found was I had friends who were very negative, and we would have conversations, and looking back now, it was basically just a bitch session every time, we talked. And that friend I don't really talk to anymore, because she wants to bitch and I don't. And so we don't really have much conversation, which is fine. We're different people and we're growing. But I just wanted to bring that up, because it is a very real possibility in your life. And I wouldn't want you to be surprised by it. So part of the reason commitment's so important is because things will come up that internally as well that you will want, that will try to stop you. So let's talk about fear for a second. Fear is a very natural response. It was designed in us to save our lives if we were confronted with a bear or something, So that whole fight or flight response, that's what fear is intended to do. Fear is intended to keep you safe. But the interesting thing about fear is that when you're not in a situation like that, but you are facing something that could potentially lead to change for you, fear will come up and try to keep you the same. So your fear response, your body believes that you, and your mind believes that you'll be safer if you stay the same, because it's the known, right? The unknown is scary. And so it's very common for when you start making changes and trying to do things that your fear response will come up and try to protect you. So just be aware of that, and be willing to push past the fear and see what happens. Because on the other side of the fear, you'll find that that's where all the great things are. You know, I still deal with this all the time. I'm constantly doing new things that before I would have never done because I was so terrified of them. You know, for example, like getting in front of you guys on a webinar and just going for it live. I would have never done that even 6 months ago, because I was such a perfectionist and I had this real fear of saying something wrong or doing something stupid and not being able to take that back. But I know that fear is just trying to keep me safe, and none of that stuff is real. And so I just continue to do stuff that I'm scared of, so that I can grow. And the funny thing is that once you do it, the fear goes away, right? Like the next time I do a webinar, I'm not going to be worried about it because I already know that it doesn't matter, right? That the fear was there to keep me safe, but now I've done it. I've made the change. So it's interesting. That's exactly how you get rid of the fear, is by pushing past it. Yeah. So a big part of this is just don't give up before you get there. You know, don't give up before you get the thing or make the change or, you know, any of that, because we do that all the time. Like we talk to ourselves in our head and convince ourselves that it's not going to happen, and then we don't even try, right? Or we start to try and then we don't get the feedback we expect, or we get scared or whatever. And then, or we get close and then we freak out and we self-sabotage or we quit before we've even gotten there. And so it's so important to continue, even if, you know, sometimes I'll be doing something after something, making a change, whatever. And, you know, I'll get close and I'll feel it, and I'll feel how close I am to a breakthrough. And then I'll notice about myself that I start to slow down on the work, or I start to come up with excuses for why I can't do it. Or, you know, I don't have time to look at that right now, because it's scary. The change is scary. And the closer you get to it, it's very likely that some of that stuff will come up for you. So you just have to be committed to being willing to do it, even when it's scary and even when you feel like you don't want to, because you're close. And that's the important part. I like to call it being a bulldog. You just really have to be a bulldog about what it is that you're after, because there will be times where you just want to give up. So does that all make sense? I'm trying to look at my notes and see if I got everything. Yeah, and the most important thing is that you feel good. Always remember that. So Caroline asked, what were some of the first steps you took to commit? Okay, so for me, if I go, you know, back 5 years ago, way back to the beginning, like I was talking about, I made that choice. And in that moment, I made a commitment to always moving forward, always looking for newer and better ways. I was committed to not being that person I was in that moment and not living that person's life. That was my very first commitment, that I knew if I wasn't diligent about figuring out how to actually be happy and love my life, that I would just end up in that same boat all over again. And I was committed to not doing that. And so for me, that was the big commitment. And then now I do it, like I do it on little things, I do it on big things. You know, I'm just, my overarching commitment right now, and from that day until now and probably the rest of my life, has been to continue to do the work and continue to learn and continue to research and continue to expand, so that I can always be getting better, and creating a better life and being a better person. You know, there was a time where this was all about me. And then as I've dug into this more, it's really morphed into, it's not just about me anymore. I have this really lofty goal, to actually have an impact on humanity. And, you know, this is a little aside, but I'll share this with you because this is one of my commitments now is everything I do now on myself and with my clients and stuff, everything I do has this undercurrent of how can I help humanity be more blissful, be more loving, be, living to their purpose and really having the life that they want. Because when I look around, there are so many good humans out there that we're just living in this society where all you hear about is the bad. And, there's groups of people that hate each other for no reason. And there's all this stuff going on. And so now I'm up to the level of being committed to doing whatever I can do to have an impact on humanity so that we can all get back to feeling the way I truly believe we are supposed to feel. Life is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be struggle. And I'm not saying nothing bad ever happens, and there's definitely something to be learned in the struggle as well, but I think you can also learn without the struggle. And we've just gotten to this place where the struggle seems to be the overarching thing here. So does that help, Carolyn? I hope that helps. I have become this like total optimist who really believes that we can heal and be better people, right? I hope that helps. All right. So if you have any questions, go ahead and type them through. I've tried to answer them as we've gone, which hopefully didn't make this too jumpy, but I wanted to make sure I was answering them in the moment while we were having the conversation. But if you have more questions or you want to, oh, that's a good one, Pam. I love that. Okay, so Pam has asked, I feel like I have a handful of things that I really want to work on. How do you prioritize? This is a great question because a friend of mine, actually, we were having a similar conversation and she dubbed the term spiritual ADD because we have so many things that we were working on in that moment. And I'm constantly, I'm definitely not a one thing at a time girl. And as I get to so I'll be making progress. Maybe I'm getting really close to the end of a thing I'm working on. Then I never finish one thing before I start the next. So this has definitely been a learning for me, how to prioritize, because it is important. So what I would do and what I've done in the past is really, there's real power in silence. And so what I'll do is I'll sit just by myself somewhere quiet and ask myself, what is important to me right now? What do I really believe I'm ready to work on or change? Or, so if you're looking for you may have a list of things and you can ask yourself, which one of these things really feels good to start right now? And I would definitely go by gut feeling because it doesn't matter what order you do things in terms of the results you get. It really is just about what your priorities are at the moment and what feels good to you to start working on. So if you don't really feel like there's a priority for you, if one's not more important than the other, I would use that process to really check in with yourself and listen to the instant answer you get. Because I've learned, and I had a coach put this really well, that your soul knows what you want to focus on. And so when you first ask a question or someone asks you a question, that initial 3-second reaction, that answer in the first 3 seconds is really the one you should be listening to, because after that, your mind gets involved, and our minds are very good at making stuff up and making things complicated. So I would try that if you don't really have a feeling around what you want to do first. And in the beginning, I definitely would try to focus on one, maybe two things, not a whole list of things you're trying to change, even though the process is pretty much the same. You're going to be learning how to check in daily and how to really be involved and aligned. And this is new habits that you're not used to doing. So 1 or 2 things in the beginning is definitely good. If you've got a list of things, but you're like, well, and let's take something like maybe you want to, make an extra 20 grand next quarter or whatever. I'm just making stuff up. But maybe you've got a goal where it's something really tangible and you've put a timeline on it, and or maybe there's a reason why you have to have it right away, then go ahead and start with the thing that feels the most urgent, I guess is what I'm saying. because that's definitely okay as well. Because like I said, the order doesn't matter necessarily. You just want it to be something you're really committed to, that you're, especially the first time, that you're, you know, ready to commit to, that you're really, your why is really motivating. So when I talked about choosing, that choice is really your why, whatever brought you to making that choice. So you want it to be something that's really important to you so that you'll stick to it, right? Does that make sense? Let me know if you got further questions on that, and I'll try to dig in a little more. But I definitely have spiritual ADD. So, okay. So that was the system. I hope that was helpful. Like I said, go ahead and keep typing questions through. We'll do Q&A some more at the end if you guys have more questions. Perfect, Pam. I'm glad that helped. Yeah. So I want to tell you guys, like I mentioned in the beginning, I really wanted to share with you guys the new program I have coming up. And for some of you, this may not resonate, but for others, I think it's something that I'm really excited about because it's really near and dear to my heart. And it's something I wish I had when I got started. So I'm going to be doing, it's a group for people who are really committed. They're ready. You know, they've got the why. I mean, yeah, they've got the why. All of that stuff that we've been talking about. It's going to be a group of people who are really in that place that are ready to dive in. And you'll know if that's you. I mean, you'll know after, you know now after the conversations we've had, if there's something in your life where you definitely feel like that and you're ready to jump in there, because it does require that commitment from you, because it's going to be a daily thing. So I'm going to start a group which is designed for people at all levels, really. It's going to be an accountability group. So I'm going to post, there'll be daily challenges. So there'll be tasks you have to do every day and share with me or with the group. It'll depend on comfort level. I'm still filling that part out a little bit. And I'm going to there'll be 2 live trainings. So the very first day, I'm going to do a live training that will really get the whole group set up and ready to go. And in that training, there'll be homework and you'll be able to ask questions and all of that stuff. And then I'm going to do another live training in the middle, because one thing I find is pretty common as well is we're really committed in the beginning, we get into the work, maybe we lose some momentum or we hit a roadblock. And when I say roadblock, it's usually something internal to us, you know, that we haven't recognized or dealt with about ourselves. So I'll do a live training on that. That'll help us clear some of those blocks out, because that's really a critical part of this too, is recognizing and seeing those blocks and letting them go. So that'll be like in the middle of the month. And then there'll be Q&A there as well. And then I'm also going to do a workbook. So you'll have daily homework that'll go along with the challenge. So it'll actually be a book you can print out so that you can, you know, whether it's whatever it's dealing with, so you'll have it there that you can work through that. And then also one-on-one access to me as well on Facebook Messenger for sure. And I'm just looking because there's so much stuff in here. The trainings won't be on Facebook. I'm going to do those as phone calls, so you'll be able to just listen to those wherever. I like the phone calls because then you don't have to worry about loading video and all that stuff. Okay, so I talked about the 2 trainings. The workbook that'll guide you through some of the deeper work, which you'll need to be doing. Daily accountability we talked about, and assignments, so that'll be good. And then Facebook group, okay, and then access to me on Messenger. And then I just decided today I'm actually going to add something else to it. So I'm going to do a one-on-one coaching call for everyone. So, and you can choose when in the month or even after, you know, so it's going to run 30 days. It's going to be a 30-day challenge, but I'm going to give everybody a one-on-one coaching call where you can choose when you want to set that up, anywhere up to a month after the group closes. So maybe you want to save your coaching call until after the group's over. You can also ask any questions you want in the Facebook group. That will stay. I'm not getting rid of that. And you'll have access to all the materials forever. But I really wanted to add one-on-one coaching call only because I feel like there's a lot of power to be had in that voice conversation. And you can bring up things that you wouldn't necessarily be comfortable doing in a Facebook group or whatever. So I'm really super excited about that. And I wanted to start it on January 1st. This idea came to me about 6 weeks ago. I wanted it to start on January 1st because I don't know if any of you guys do New Year's resolutions, but I feel like everyone I know that sets New Year's resolutions will set them and then not, 2 weeks into the month or 3 weeks into the month, no one's talking about them anymore, right? Like you never hear about people's New Year's resolutions past like the 15th of January. So this is designed to keep you accountable and keep you going. And that's why I'm doing the 30-day accountability and daily stuff so that you can really start the year off and keep that going, get that momentum going, and have 2019 just be amazing. And so I'm gonna do, there's an application process because I talked about, I want this group to be committed and ready to go. There actually is an application process to make sure that the people that get in the group are committed, because that it won't work for you if you're not committed to that. So it's a really quick application process. It's just a couple questions. And you guys can let me know in here if you want the details, and I'll send that to you. Otherwise, you can hit me up on social media or however, if you have questions or you want to apply. And that's all of it. I think I got everything. Perfect. Okay, so Pam asked, do you have to have Facebook to take part in the training? You do not. So the trainings themselves will not be on Facebook. They will be on, I think I'm going to use like Vimeo or something like that, an app you can just download that you can listen to the calls, and you can either listen live or you can listen to the recordings. The only part that's going to be in the Facebook group is the group itself. So if you don't have Facebook or you don't want to use the Facebook part, that's fine. You wouldn't necessarily have access to the other people in the group, but you could still do the one-on-one call. You could still get to the daily accountability. I am going to post the daily accountabilities in Facebook, but I'm also going to send out emails so that if you're not on Facebook, you still get those daily accountabilities. And in that case where I tell you to post in the group, you could just send me something directly showing that you've done your part for that day. So you definitely don't have to have Facebook to take part in it. I just like the Facebook groups for people that are on Facebook because that allows you to build like a little tribe of your own, right? You create this tribe that allows people to really connect in that way. And I haven't found a better way to do that. So that's why Facebook. Awesome. So we're at the end. If you have any more questions, go ahead and send them through real quick, or you can always get a hold of me after as well. I'm pretty sure all of you know how to get a hold of me in some way, shape, or form. I'm on all the social medias. And yeah, email. I wonder if I can do a broadcast. Nope. I was going to throw you out my email address for you guys. If you don't have it, you can always reach me here. And then, can you guys see that? I'm glad, like I said, I'm using new webinar software, so I'm not 100% sure how everything works. Okay, perfect. So there's my email address if you need it. Thank you, Carolyn. I'm glad you were here. That's so awesome. I really, really love doing this, so it's super fun. So like I talked about, I just want to recap the steps for you real quick. So make a choice, right? Make that decision. Get clear on what you desire, and also letting some of the stuff that's been holding you back go. So definitely the creation step is really important. And then the commitment step is huge because that just keeps you doing the thing, keeping it going. So that's definitely critical. And I did go over, looks like we're about 54 minutes already, but thank you guys for sticking around. I really love all of you. And I just love being able to share this with people. And it's just been really, really fantastic to hear back from people and to see, you know, how powerful some of this stuff is and be able to share that. So thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you here interacting. And let me know if you're interested in the offer, or if you just want to chat some more. I'm 100% open to that too. So I love you all. Have a beautiful day.